You've recently called for an investigation into Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in this SNC Lavalin, let's call it a situation. However, recent testimony by Jody Wilson-Raybould has suggested that nothing illegal transpired. So when you call an investigation and that borders on, I guess, elements of criminality, I'm just wondering if the former Attorney General has said there was nothing illegal, then how are there elements of criminality that would therefore warrant an investigation?
Well, I would point to the fact that Ms. Wilson-Raybould did confirm that there was a coordinated and sustained, over a long period of time, a campaign to convince, to pressure, to urge, to bully her into politically interfering in a criminal court case. Now, I've called for an investigation to determine whether or not a line of criminality was crossed. Certainly, when I hear the reports of constant badgering, of testimony like Gerald Butts saying that legalities are, we're way past questions around legalities here, talking about partisan purposes for doing this, to me that certainly warrants an investigation. Ms. Wilson-Raybould may have her own opinion, Justin Trudeau will have his, but that's why we have independent police or agencies to make those determinations. And I believe there's enough here to consider looking at the obstruction of justice aspect of our criminal code, which specifically talks about intimidating and interfering in a criminal case.
I'm curious to get your take on deferred prosecution as a tool. Why is this something that needs to be or should be implemented in Canada or used in Canada?
Well, deferred prosecution agreements are a tool that the Parliament last year, the Government of Canada, gave to our justice system. So it's now an option for prosecutors to determine if they're, in any given situation, if it's appropriate. Now, that being said, companies still have to qualify for it. And the way the Liberals wrote the law, the prosecutors have to look at the nature of the offenses. How deep did the corruption go? The kinds of corruption that they were involved in. We now know that some of the money went to Muammar Gaddafi's son buying prostitutes and escorts here in Canada. It talks about whether or not there have been appropriate steps to clean up the company. So based on those qualifications, SNC Lavalin didn't qualify. And what Justin Trudeau would have had the Attorney General to do is say, even though our independent judicial agents, our officers of the court, have determined that this company had not cleaned up its act enough, did not address the way in which the corruption happened, that based on political motivations, Justin Trudeau is going to have Ms. Wilson-Raybould intervene and direct an outcome. And nobody believes that's okay. We give judges all the time tools. A judge in a criminal case for an individual could come up with any number of options, anger management, addictions counseling. But a politician would never phone up that judge and say, hey, this person's very well connected, this person's very powerful, go easy on him. Give him one of these lesser tools. We leave those decisions to our courts, take it out of the hands of politicians. We don't want to live in a country where a government can reward its friends and punish its enemies. That is a dark, dark path that I don't want to go down, and I know Canadians don't want to either.
You've called on resignation from the Prime Minister. That's a very bold move and bold statement, I think, to make. Have you taken it, I think, too far?
No,
taken that line too far?
Not at all. And I didn't take that decision lightly either. But it really came down to breaking faith with Canadians. And Justin Trudeau occupies a very high position in this country. He has been entrusted by Canadians to run our country, to run our government. And he has said things that just aren't true. When this scandal first broke, his original response was to dismiss them all out of hand, saying that the allegations were completely false. We now know that they weren't completely false, that there's documented evidence of exactly what he was accused of. He then said that he at no time did he even put pressure on Ms. Wilson-Raybould. Well, we now know that he did over a long period of time and had key people in his office do the same. So he has said things, he has looked 35 million Canadians in the eye and has said things that just aren't true. And I believe that he needs to do the right thing. At this point in time, resign, allow investigations to unfold and determine what actually happened.